Hi, this is Ryan with the SplitSignal team. The purpose of this video today is to take you through our split testing platform and highlight some of its key parts and features you might find particularly interesting. First, the setup. We're going to select Setup New Project. We're going to add the domain you're looking at. Then we need to gather data in order to run a test. The way we do this is by pulling Google Analytics and Google Search Console data into SplitSignal. The reason we gather both Google Analytics and Google Search Console data instead of one or other is because GA often contains non-relevant data that displays as organic sessions. There might be sessions from irrelevant domains, from pages that are not really in search and cannot have organic traffic. Google Search Console contains only the pages that are in search that rank. But organic sessions are the metrics that people trust and use more often than Google Search Console clicks. Thus, we take URLs from Google Search Consoles and organic sessions from Google Analytics. So let's go ahead and set that up now. We're going to hit Connect Services. I'm going to select my name here where I have it. And I'll accept this and hit Allow. All right, so that's the Google account. And under the Google account, I have the SEO Quake option. So I'm going to select that. Same thing with my Search Console. Hit Next here. This is going to make sure they match up, which they do. And the final step is the JS snippet. So SplitSignal is 100% client-side. There's no need for server-side tools for the multi-testing options. Server-side can be riskier in terms of affecting overall performance and stability of the website. This snippet code can be added right into Google Tag Manager or directly if need be. Now, let's create a test. Moving forward, we're going to use the SEMrush blog as an example. So let's create that first test. First thing is the name. Here's an example of a good name. You want to be as descriptive as possible as what the test is for. Then you have the test description. You don't have to enter in anything here, but I would recommend an hypothesis. I think this test will increase click-through rate, thus increasing organic sessions. Click Create. SplitSignal will allow you to select templatized pages as well as do some more advanced filtering. So we're going to select the US blog here. Going to hit Next. Here's the advanced filtering option. I recommend combing over these pages quickly to make sure that they all look similar, that they're all templatized. You can look at some of the examples. I see here that this one is different because this is the blog homepage. I'll show you what I mean. You can see that here. Compared to a page like this, which is an actual blog article, you can see this is a different template. So let's go ahead and grab this page and take it out. So we're going to say and does not equal. Paste that in there, and you can see it's removed from this list here. Okay. There's also other advanced options like regex. So you can get really down in the weeds here and really particular of what pages you want to test. Another important option to note is that there's list. So you can put just a list of URLs, a list of excluded URLs if you'd like as well. Okay. Let's hit that next button. And this will be the portion where we create rules. An important thing to note before we actually look at the rules is that SplitSignal will bucket the pages that we selected based on traffic features like trends, seasonality, and overall amount of sessions. There are 5 test types available. The first being change the text content of the element, like a title. Change the element attribute, like a meta description, which is what we're going to do. Change the element type, so from an H2 to an H3 as an example. Move an element, so moving images on the page, moving H1s, and deleting an element, so outright removing something. SplitSignal allows you to update any element and any attribute on the page, as well as content and attributes of elements as variables for testing, and create whole new templates of content. No developer resources are needed to make these changes. So let's go through a couple examples of these tests. First, we can do a title. This one is easy enough. You can actually just select or just enter in title into the CSS selector for a text content change. You'll see the current here. Maybe I want to add a call to action to the title. Right? So I can add new as an example. Come in here and grab the current. Make sure that's spaced out. Say new, and then whatever the current is. Now that might not apply very well to this one, so maybe we want to do something a little more advanced. So let's take a look at the example page. You can see here on the example page that there's actually a date available. So maybe we want to add a date to the title for relevancy, as an example. What we can actually do here is come to this variable section and extract it right from the page. No need to actually go into the code. If your JavaScript snippet is implemented, you can actually grab it right from the page. So I can select on page. It'll give me the preview. It'll allow me to grab that element right there, use this selector. It'll pull it in there. Let's give it a name, call it date, extract. And now I can come in here, add the date, and then the current as an example. Right? So I added that date there. Another example for a different type is change element attribute. So we can do something like this with a meta description as an example. So I can grab it and just pull the meta description information. These are pretty uniform across all different sites, so no need to actually select this on a page as an example. So you can see that's pulled in. Now I want to add my call to action here for my meta description as an example. Again, I could do something like new as a call to action. New plus the current. Maybe I want to add a whole new template, right? So maybe I want to say new and I pull the H1, right? As opposed to just what's the meta description currently, right? So that changes it up completely. Maybe I want to, instead of adding the new, something that would be more relevant for all the different types of blog pages. You can use that date again, right? So use that for the meta description instead. Date and then the H1, right? Go in here and add some spaces, make it look a little more pretty. And there you go. That's a new meta description. That's only 2 test types. There's 3 more to review, right? So we get a little more complicated now. Change the element type. So if I want to update an element on the page, maybe there's an H1 or an H2 I want to change to something else, right? I can come in here. Here's the current H1. There's only one on the page. Maybe I want to change it to an H2, right? It'll allow you to just go ahead and select that, and whatever the current H1 is will become an H2. Next up, the move element test. So this is where the select on page really comes in handy. So we'll take our example page. First thing we're going to select is what we want to move. So in this case, let's move the H1. Second part is, where do you want to move it? So we're going to pick an item that you want to move it in relationship to. So in this case, we'll select this image because we want to move it under the image. You see here placement after. You have 3 other options: before, like a first child, and like a last child. Then we're going to select See Preview, and you can see it move down right below the image. Lastly, delete element. So maybe I want to delete something. Maybe I want to delete the image. I can come here and use this selector, and the image will be deleted. So let's go back and reset. What our purpose is here, right? We wanted to do a call to actions in the meta. So again, type in that information. We're going to use our extract variable, date. I'm going to put a little space here, and then I'm going to say each one. All right, so it's a whole new template. Instead of the current, it'll be the date and the current H1 of the page. I'll go ahead and hit next, and then it will allow you to review the test. All right. We'll also give you the warning if it doesn't meet our current recommendations. So current recommendations are at least 100K in traffic in the last 100 days and at least 300 pages. We recommend these numbers to ensure that the test can reach statistical significance. That's not to say that it cannot without those numbers, but it's just a general recommendation. So just keep that in mind. We'll also have the duration up here, 21 days as the automatic. Again, that's usually a good range based on our previous test we've ran, but you can run this out all the way to 42 days or as close as 14 days. We found most success with either 21 days or 28 days. So that's up to you. So after launch, now it's time to review and launch. Here you can take one final look to make sure the test is what you want. Most tests take anywhere from 21 to 28 days, depending on the need. You can adjust that here. After you press the launch button, it's important to note that with SplitSignal, you don't need a data science team. We use a Bayesian model, causal impact to be exact, to make it easy to determine test results. When the test's launched, we just don't compare control and variant. It's not just a before and after look. Instead, we compare the difference, the delta, between variant groups and the forecasted model created. Let's take a look now at some result examples. In the result summary, there's 5 areas that we're going to look at. The test results, which could be positive, negative, or no significant change. The effect size, which is the percentage of increase or decrease in organic sessions during the life of the test. The absolute effect, which is the number of increase or decrease in sessions during the life of the test. The confidence level, how confident are we in the test? Anything over 95% or higher indicates that we are confident in the test and that we can have a significant result, either positive or negative. Anything under 95 would indicate that it's not a significant result, no significant change. And then duration, so how long did the test run? This graph below illustrates what actually happened during the test. The before period, so before launched, shows the real traffic and the predicted traffic and how they interact. In an ideal world, we want the real traffic and the predicted traffic, the model's traffic, to intersect. So we want the blue line and the orange lines to be as exact as possible. And then after the launch date, we want the orange line and the blue line to be as far away as possible, either positively or negatively. So in this case, the orange line is consistently over. That indicates positive. If the orange line was consistently under, it would be negative. If there was some type of mix back and forth, that would generally indicate something that would be no significant change. Let's take a look at some other examples of graphs. You can see here that in the before launch period, the real traffic and predicted traffic are even closer. This is the ideal. This is ideally how we want the test to look before launch. After launch, this ended up being a no significant change, which indicates that the test itself didn't have any significance in traffic. But still, this model is a good model, the ideal. Then we have the lowest type of model, a model where the orange and the blue don't really match up at all. This often is going to indicate also in a no significant change in this case, but even if there was consistent, it'd be hard to trust the model itself. In closing out, thank you for joining us today. Hope this was educational and very helpful. As a final takeaway, SEOs and marketers look for solutions to make SEO more measurable. There's teams who do split testing manually, but they struggle to get the job done effectively and efficiently. Enter SplitSignal. SplitSignal exists to alleviate those struggles and to prove to the world that you and your team are the SEO heroes you know yourselves to be. Take credit.